The hospital corridor had never felt so silent. It wasn't the usual calm of polished floors and echoing heart monitors. It was a silence born from shock, from disbelief, from the moment every doctor and nurse stopped mid-step. The automatic doors slid open with a hiss, and the man who stepped through them looked like he belonged on the cover of an outlaw magazine, not in a place of healing. A towering biker with a scarred jaw, tattoos crawling up his arms, and a leather vest marked with a symbol everyone in the city recognized. People moved out of his way instantly, but then they saw his trembling arms and the small, unconscious little girl he carried, her face pale, shirt stained with dirt and drying blood, her hand loosely dangling as if life itself were slipping away. That was the moment everything froze. If you believe the world still has kindness left and that everyone deserves a second chance, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. The giant biker's eyes were frantic, red, and rimmed with fear, nothing like the cold, fearless expression people expected from the leader of a feared motorcycle gang. His boots echoed in heavy thuds across the tiles as he rushed forward, holding the girl to his chest with the desperate protectiveness of someone ready to trade his own life for hers. Nurses glanced at each other, unsure whether to fear him or help him, but his voice broke through the hesitation. It wasn't a roar, not a command, not the thunderous sound one would imagine from a man his size. It cracked like brittle glass. It held pain. It held pleading. And it said more than words ever could. He needed help. And he needed it now. The medical staff reacted instantly once they saw the fragile child in his arms. A wave of urgency washed over the whole emergency ward. Gurneys rolled, gloves snapped on, and doctors rushed him. As they guided the unconscious child away, the biker reached out as if the separation physically hurt him, but he forced himself to let go because he knew she needed them more than she needed his arms. When the doors to the trauma room swung shut, he remained standing in the hallway, breathing hard, fists clenched, chest heaving like he was fighting a war inside himself. His name was Cole Walker, a name whispered in police radios and muttered in rough bars across the county, leader of the Storm Reapers, a man known for fights, fire, and fearlessness. But none of that mattered now. The only thing that mattered lay behind those hospital doors. The girl's name was Lily, the daughter of his closest friend, a man he'd lost in a tragic accident months earlier. Cole had promised to protect her with everything he had, and he had failed. He replayed the moment again and again, Lily skipping happily beside him near the edge of the woods while he fixed his bike, the sudden sound of screeching tires, the blur of a truck losing control, his heart stopping as debris flew. He had thrown himself over her, shielding her from the worst of the impact, but she had still been struck by a piece of metal and knocked unconscious. He had carried her on his motorcycle, breaking every speed law he'd ever laughed at, just to get her here alive. Minutes in the waiting room felt like hours. Nurses avoided eye contact, unsure what to say to a man whose reputation haunted the city's underbelly. Parents pulled their children closer. Some people whispered. Others stared. But Cole didn't move. He didn't sit. He didn't speak. He stood like a statue carved from fear and silent prayers. His hands, covered in black gloves, trembled for the first time in years. He had faced countless battles, but this was the first time he truly felt powerless. As the emergency room worked frantically, something shifted around him. The hospital staff slowly realized what was happening. This wasn't a gang confrontation or a dangerous intruder. This was a broken man trying to save a child he loved. The harsh labels people had given him began to soften. A nurse approached with a cup of water, her voice gentle, telling him to breathe, telling him they were doing everything possible. He tried to thank her, but his voice caught in his throat. When the doctor finally emerged, his expression was serious. Cole's heart constricted painfully. But then the doctor spoke softly, saying Lily was alive, that she had suffered a concussion and blood loss, but miraculously she would recover. At that moment, something inside Cole shattered and rebuilt itself all at once. His shoulders sagged, and a raw, unfiltered relief washed over him. The world blurred for a moment as tears he had refused to shed for years broke free. He was allowed into the recovery room, where Lily lay with bandages on her arm, and a monitor beeping steadily beside her. Her small chest rising and falling was the most beautiful sight he had ever seen. He sat beside her, elbows on his knees, head hanging low as he whispered promises only she could hear. Promises of protection, of change, of walking away from the violence that had shaped his life. In that quiet room, surrounded by the soft hum of machines, he made a choice that would alter the path of every man in his gang. Word spread across the hospital. People whispered not with fear, but with compassion. They saw a man not defined by the leather on his back, but by the love in his heart. They saw someone fighting his demons for the sake of a child who believed in him. And in that moment, the hospital staff, the visitors, even strangers passed through the waiting area, all felt something they didn't expect: respect. If this story is touching your heart, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes in the power of change. Your support means the world. Before we reach the end, I'd love everyone watching to comment below. Do you believe people can truly change when they have someone worth changing for? Lily eventually woke, her eyes fluttering open as she whispered his name. Cole's face broke into a trembling smile. In that small hospital room, illuminated by soft fluorescent lights, a hardened biker's heart was rewritten. Not by force, not by fear, but by love. And as he held her tiny hand in his, he understood something powerful. Sometimes the toughest men carry the deepest wounds, and sometimes the smallest heart can save the biggest soul.